This is the Gen Y Leaders Podcast. Welcome to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast, where we guide millennials to become the next generation of business leaders and entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Eric Huey, and multiple times a month, we bring you interviews from high-performing millennials who are challenging perceptions and changing expectations of our generation. Our mission is to help you overcome fear, take action, and go confidently in the direction of your dreams. It's time to start preparing now, mainly because 10,000 baby boomers are retiring every day, which will create a vacuum of career opportunities that you've been waiting for. Will you be ready? Becky, welcome to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking time out of your morning.
Yeah,
if you could just start off and tell listeners who you are and what you do.
Yeah, so my name is Becky Haddican. I'm a senior marketing manager at Black and Veatch for their power division, specifically the global transmission line.
Awesome. What's got you doing that? What's your why behind your motivation? You're obviously a driven individual that we'll get into that later, but what's your why?
Yeah, well, the reason that I really loved working for Black and Veatch, and I kind of got recruited for my former job, which I also really liked, but I was really sold on this idea that, their whole company statement is building a world of difference. And while it might not seem super glamorous and sexy, like they work on critical human infrastructure. So like the stuff that I get to be a part of is stuff that keeps the lights on, that this company helps keep the water running, like we make modern life possible. So it's nice to be able to get behind something where you feel like at the end of the day, you're doing something that's actually worthwhile, even if it's just a teeny tiny part of that.
Yeah, without a doubt. And we're part of the same industry, I guess, for listeners' sake. And that's what I've always thought too. It's so cool to just be part of an industry that's often overlooked as being so critical and so vital. Things we take for granted. My power just went out yesterday morning, and it's like you're so quick to take that for granted, and you realize how much it impacts your day with like your computer for work and cooking and all sorts of stuff. So that's cool. I appreciate the insight there. So before we were talking, every guest that comes on the show, kind of my focusing question, if you will, to every guest is, if you had a room full of 100 young entrepreneurs or, just business, young professionals, what would you teach them? How would you motivate them? And as we talked more, you came up with the topic of volunteering and how that's made such a positive impact on your life and in your career. So I thought that was a really interesting take and one that I honestly hadn't heard before. So if you could maybe at a high level, just elaborate on that a little bit as far as your passion for volunteering and how it ties into your work life.
Yeah, sure. So when I first started my career, I was fresh out of college, took a job at an engineering firm, and it was fun and I liked it and I enjoyed my coworkers, but there kept feeling like there was this, piece that was missing. There were all these issues I cared about, and I just felt like maybe I wasn't doing enough, or I wasn't, is this what I want to spend my whole career doing? I read some books and I wish I could quote the exact one now, but it introduced me to the concept of redefining work. So the things you do to feel productive, to feel like you're meeting your goals and making a difference doesn't always have to be, what you do with your day job. Like you can combine it with volunteer stuff that helps scratch certain itches for you, and you get kind of the best of both worlds. You get a job that helps you hone your professional skills and, obviously get a paycheck, and you can invest yourself in some volunteer work that helps fulfill kind of other parts of you. So it took a lot of pressure off of my day job because I didn't feel like I had to create meaning in every piece of it. It didn't have to be the whole thing that defined me. And that was a really great experience for me. And then throughout my time volunteering, I found that I was given opportunities at an earlier age that I probably wouldn't have been just in an office setting. it made me more prepared just to kind of take the next steps in my career. I was more confident. I felt like I'd had more leadership roles before. I knew what I was doing. So it was just a positive experience all around. And it truly realizing that made me so much happier with my work life as a whole, because I wasn't hanging all my eggs in one basket.
Yeah, it seems like it just relieves that burden. I think that's such a healthy perspective, because I think we get so caught up in the career and our work life and making sure that we're somehow getting fulfilled by the work we're doing, 8 to 10 hours a day, which can be difficult doing anything. Even if you're extremely passionate about it, you're going to hit some point of burnout. So I think that's a really, really cool perspective. So I'm so happy that you came on the show today. So on the note, who are some organizations that you're volunteering with currently, and what made you choose those?
Yeah, so I'm on the Nelson Atkins Friends of Art board, and I'm also in the Junior League. And our seasons both start in May, so it's interesting to start kind of a new sort of situation at this point.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk a little bit about the Junior League committee that I'm on, because it's been very important for me. And I think it's also hit on how it's giving me actual, like, very actionable skills that's really helped in my work life.
Yeah.
I'm on a committee called C3 Kansas City, KC, and it brings together civic, corporate, and community leaders. It's a conference we put on every year. It raises funds for the Junior League, and those funds are then plugged back into the community. But it's basically all about sparking change within Kansas City and having those conversations. What can we do, to make the city better? What do we see as current issues right now? What are we doing well? And it's just been a really great experience. One, because we're, having those difficult conversations, but two, from a professional perspective, it's a huge event. It takes so much organization, so much level of detail, a lot of reaching out to people in the community, maybe people who I would probably be a little intimidated by normally. And it's been really great, especially as we're shifting. A lot of marketing focus tends to be in events and like a B2B space. Sure. And as shifting that way, like having this experience working on the backside of these events, seeing what networking opportunities, what connection opportunities combined with like valuable content really does help bring people together and make those connections. It's been incredibly helpful.
Thanks for the overview. Yeah, so that was one question I had too, is kind of what your volunteering sessions look like at each one of these. But it sounds like you're very much applying your corporate business life skill set to an organization that needs that, and you're not only giving them that time and energy, but you're also getting skill sets back that then you can go take and apply to your work, right?
Yeah. And there's a couple of things that I've been involved with that, it might not seem as obvious on the surface. And again, this one is on hold because of this weird COVID situation, but I'm also a part of an organization called Lead to Read.
Okay.
And it's great because they partner with companies around town, and you take a lunch break once a week, and they schedule it so that your commute time there and back is all within a regular lunch hour.
That's awesome.
With a student, and you get that same student for the whole year. And I was lucky enough, I got to read with my last little girl for 2 years. And it's great because it's a nice break in the workday to kind of switch your focus and get your brain thinking a little bit differently. And it's also a very small thing that feels like it's actually contributing, like literacy rates in Kansas City are a big issue. There's a lot of studies that show if a kid's behind by 3rd grade, after that point, they assume they know how to read, and it can lead them to be behind for the rest of their lives and has all these consequences. But it's nice to think that 1 hour of your time, get a little break in your day, read some great kids' books, like solve this problem in a teeny tiny bit. And it's a refresher. You go back to work and you're like energized. For
sure. Yeah. Talk about making a true impact and being fulfilled. That's nothing that, any real work, corporate position can fulfill, I feel like. So you're obviously very busy with your responsibilities, Black and Veatch, but then all these organizations that you're involved with and volunteering at. So I guess from a time management perspective, what's that look like for you? How do you manage all those tasks and obligations that you have?
Yeah, it can be a little difficult at times. I'm an obsessive list maker and I'm very old school. I have a paper planner and everything I do, whether it's actual like volunteer stuff or happy hour with friends or things I have to remember, all goes in there. And the nice thing is a lot of the organizations I've chosen to be involved with, their commitment times vary and some are more seasonal and the meetings are regularly scheduled on different set days of the month. So it's helpful to kind of help compartmentalize that. But it is sometimes a struggle, especially in busier seasons. If it coincides with a busier season at work, I've just got to block out time on my weekend to decide how much of this is work, how much of this is,
Becky, Black and Veatch is obviously a large organization, and you're very well versed in your volunteering efforts. So how does Black and Veatch support you in that endeavor?
Yeah, so we actually, for example, with Lead to Read, there's a whole team that we've put together.
Very cool.
We carpool with each other. We've been recognized a little bit within Black and Veatch for what we've been doing. And then also with the Junior League, with this C3KC conference, Black and Veatch was incredibly supportive. They sponsored a whole table, sent a bunch of, it was also a really cool opportunity for me to meet different people within Black and Veatch that I don't necessarily get to talk to a whole lot.
Yeah.
So they sponsored a whole table and were very supportive of that and gave people the time off as development time to come and listen and participate. So yeah, that was great. They've been really supportive about that.
That's amazing to find that.
Yeah, it was great. And it was also something that just, it might not count for specific credits or anything, but it's something that, like my boss sees and my review gets brought up and something that's, positive that I should keep doing. Black and Veatch really wants to make sure we're engaged with the community in a positive way. So that stuff is definitely encouraged.
Yeah, that's great. I think a lot of corporations can take a page out of Black and Veatch's book in that regard, because it sounds like they're very supportive and realize to, you can have success in your role at work, but you can only, there's a certain ceiling, right? You can only be so fulfilled and get so much out of your day job that there has to be something else that's not financially, no financial obligation, no transactional component, that it's, relationship, giving back to the community. So that's really cool that they're supportive of you guys.
Yeah, it is fun.
So I'm kind of wrapping this up here. How do these two worlds coincide for you? I mean, we talked about a lot as far as getting fulfillment from your volunteering. So besides your work at Black and Veatch, and how about in everyday life, your personal life? Does volunteering at organizations help you, quote unquote, not sweat the small stuff when things happen in life? What's your mindset there?
Yeah, I've always been a Midwestern stereotype, and I feel like I always need to be working and doing and accomplishing things, and it helps bring balance in my life, which sounds weird because I'm adding things on, but they're things I find meaningful and in a compartmentalized sort of time, and it just brings me a sense of balance and a sense of peace. Sounds a little bit extreme, but just, calm, like feeling like I'm doing things I want to do and the joy that comes with being engaged and stuff like that. And it also, in almost all aspects of my life, has just made me a more confident person. Like I'm more engaged with things that I care about, and I'm getting a chance to have a seat at bigger and bigger tables. And that's something that I probably wouldn't get for a few more years,
Right.
in work life. And it brings a sense of confidence and capability that I think honestly really enriches all of my life across the board, not just professionally, but personally too.
Excellent. So last two questions here. One being, what people, books, or resources have made a positive impact on your life, whether that's through volunteering, work, personal life, whatever.
Yeah, so I just recently joined the junior league a couple of years ago. And if I'm being completely honest, I was on the fence. I think it has a reputation for being a white glove society. And while there's nothing wrong with that, that wasn't necessarily my vibe.
Yeah.
But it has been such a huge help to me to open my eyes to the possibilities here in Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
I'm from a really small town, and I really struggled when I came here of knowing how to feel like I was a part of the community. But the Junior League has been a great resource through training and volunteering opportunities that they've given. That's been incredibly helpful. And I'm a huge reader, and books wise, especially related to this topic. I read a book in my mid-20s called The Defining Decade. I think that's the one that gave me an idea of, combining what you see as work. And it really talked about how to build a full, satisfying life for yourself. You don't have to have everything figured out in one day or 1 week. You can just start doing small things to focus on what you enjoy. And then there is a podcast. It has a curse word in it.
Go for it.
It's called Unfuck Your Brain. And it's really great because it helps you work through a lot of those mental patterns that a lot of us have.
Yeah.
Here's how to handle your finances. Here's how to stop negative self-talk. Here's how to get ahead at work, or just, it has everything in there. And I've honestly, truly enjoyed it because it's kind of science-y based, but still fun to listen to.
Sure. That's great. Appreciate all those recommendations. I'll link to those in the show notes for anyone listening or watching. Last question, where can people best get a hold of you if they want advice on how to, structuring their volunteer time to, other books that you might recommend?
Yeah. So my email is rhaddican@gmail.com. I would give social tags, but I'm honestly not that active on social media.
No worries. Email will do.
For a very long time.
Well, Becky, thanks so much for your time and all your insights around volunteering. It was awesome. And I know viewers will have a lot of key takeaways. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All righty. Take care.
You too.
That wraps up today's episode. We hope to have brought you some valuable key takeaways. Most importantly, whatever you learned, take action on it. Apply it to your life. Apply it to your career. Motivation and inspiration only come as a result of taking that first step. So if you're enjoying the podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe on whichever platform you found the show. You can also follow us on all the major social media platforms or contact us directly at genwhyleaders@gmail.com. That's GENWHY leaders@gmail.com. Until next time, I'm Eric Huey, and thanks for listening to the Gen Y Leaders Podcast.